All right, ready to dive into a topic that always seems to spark some serious curiosity.
Always up for a good deep dive, especially when it involves relationships.
Well, today we're diving deep into a new memoir called More, a memoir of open marriage by Molly Roden Winter. And what makes this one so fascinating is that it's not some theoretical exploration of open relationships, like the pros and cons we often hear about.
Right, it's not a lecture or a self-help guide.
Exactly. It's one woman's raw, honest, and sometimes messy experience navigating the world of open marriage.
Memoirs like this offer such a valuable perspective, don't you think?
Absolutely. We get that intimate glimpse into the emotional why behind someone's choices, the struggles, the joys, the unexpected twists and turns. And trust me, Molly's story has plenty of those. Right from the beginning, we're introduced to her husband, Stuart, and there's this underlying feeling, at least for me, that even before the wedding bells, Molly's longing for something more.
It's subtle, but definitely there, like those early descriptions of their kisses. With Stuart, there's that comfort, a sense of familiarity. But then Matt enters the picture, and suddenly there's this spark, this undeniable chemistry that awakens something new in Molly.
And the most baffling part, Stuart picks up on it immediately. He actually encourages her to see Matt, but with this one condition, and get this, he tells her, "Tell me everything."
Whoa, that's a lot to unpack right there.
I know. On one hand, it seems incredibly open and trusting, right? But there's this other side, this question of control that lingers in the air. It's like, is this genuine openness, or is there a need to manage the situation, to know every detail?
It's a paradox for sure. And that theme of balancing openness with boundaries, it pops up again and again throughout their story.
It's a tightrope walk, that's for sure. And as if navigating this new dynamic with Matt wasn't enough, Molly's also in the thick of motherhood with two young boys. That whole mom guilt thing, yeah, it hits her hard.
And that analogy she uses, the Tupperware container,
Yeah,
so relatable.
it's brilliant. Feeling like all her energy, her desires are boxed up, neatly contained for everyone else.
That feeling of being trapped by the demands of motherhood, it's something so many women can relate to. It's no wonder she decides to give therapy a try.
Though, her first experience with therapy, let's just say it doesn't exactly go as planned.
It's almost comical, but it highlights how crucial it is to find the right therapist, someone who truly gets you.
100%. Therapy is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
Yeah.
And just as Molly's grappling with all of this, a new relationship, motherhood, therapy, we uncover a rather significant detail about her upbringing.
Oh, you mean the part about her parents?
Yes, turns out they had an open marriage too.
Whoa, okay, now that changes things.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how much of Molly's own desire for more stems from this model of marriage she witnessed growing up.
Right. It's like she's both drawn to and terrified of repeating the patterns she saw in her own family.
Absolutely. We often underestimate how much our upbringing, even if it wasn't perfect or what we choose for ourselves, shapes our views on relationships. It's like we're working with these subconscious blueprints.
Totally. And as Molly dives deeper into the world of open marriage, she's forced to confront those blueprints head on.
And it's not always pretty.
This is where Molly's story takes us on a whirlwind tour of the open marriage landscape. It's almost like she's on this quest to explore all the options, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, and what feels right for her. There's Ashley Madison, those pay-by-the-hour breather rooms. Can you imagine?
It's a real sign of the times, isn't it? And then there's that whole episode at that immersive theater experience, Sleep No More.
Oh my gosh, that part had me cracking up.
Right. It just goes to show that the world of open relationships is full of surprises. Some more pleasant than others, I'm sure.
Exactly. And not all of them end well, like that UTI incident. Yikes. It's a harsh reminder that even with agreements and boundaries, things can get messy.
No kidding. What happens in the breather room doesn't always stay in the breather room, right? But on a more serious note, it's clear that Molly's searching for something deeper, something more meaningful than just fleeting encounters.
Right, it's like she craves that genuine connection. And then there's Laurent, remember him? His losing a button analogy really stuck with me.
The analogy was so telling. It speaks volumes about the disposable nature of some of these encounters.
Absolutely. And was anyone else surprised when things with Laurent didn't exactly go as planned? It seemed inevitable to me.
Right. It was almost predictable. It just highlights how important it is to be on the same page, to have similar expectations, especially in these kinds of relationships.
Totally. And then bam, out of nowhere, everything changes. Remember when her son Daniel accidentally stumbles upon some information about her arrangement with Stuart.
Oh yeah, that was a real turning point in the story. Talk about a moment that shakes things up.
It makes you realize how delicate this whole dynamic is and how easily things can unravel.
It really does. And what's interesting is how Molly starts to question not only her own choices, but also her perception of her mother's past.
It's like she's seeing her mother's experiences in a whole new light, right? It's almost like she's inherited this legacy of seeking more, but is now left grappling with what that actually means.
It's like she's trying to break free from this predetermined path, but keeps getting pulled back in.
Exactly. It's during this period of intense self-reflection that she finds Mitchell, a new therapist who really seems to get her.
Mitchell seems like a great therapist. The way he calls out straight-up Molly is such a powerful moment.
It is. It's like he's putting a name to that part of her that strives for perfection, for approval, even if it means sacrificing her own needs.
Don't we all have a little bit of straight A in us, though? It's so easy to get caught up in trying to please others, to meet these societal expectations.
Oh, absolutely. We all crave that validation some way. And Mitchell's analogy of the bucket
So brilliant.
is such a simple but effective way to visualize what makes a healthy relationship.
Right. It's not just about romantic love or even sexual intimacy, but about filling your own bucket with things that bring you joy, that nourish your soul.
And it's not selfish to prioritize your own needs.
Not at all. In fact, it's essential for showing up fully in any relationship.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Oh.
And as Molly begins to embrace these insights, we see her embarking on a journey of self-discovery that takes her far beyond the realm of open marriage.
It's almost as if she's finally starting to understand herself, her needs, her desires on a deeper level.
And it's during this time, while caring for her ailing mother, that Molly stumbles upon a collection of old love letters.
Oh, the ones hidden in that vintage suitcase.
Yes, and they're not from her dad. They're from someone named Jim.
The Buddha, right.
Exactly, the one her mom used to tell stories about. It's like uncovering this whole secret chapter in her family's history.
And what a different side of Molly's mother we see through those letters. It's like she's not that stoic, unemotional figure we imagined.
It's like she comes alive through those letters, you know. We see her vulnerability, her longing for connection. It's actually quite touching.
It reminds us that our parents are more than just our parents, right? They had lives and loves and heartbreaks before we came along.
It's like that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. It definitely makes you see them in a different light.
For sure. And for Molly, it's this turning point where she starts to understand her mother not just as a parent, but as a woman who also craved more from life, just like her.
It's like realizing you're not so different after all. But while she's making these discoveries about her mom, her own relationship with Carl takes a bit of a nosedive.
You mean that awkward encounter at the sledding hill? Oof, you could feel the tension between Molly and Martina.
Right, talk about an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's this moment where Molly's insecurities, those fears of not being enough, really come to the surface.
It's like Martina's disapproval just pushes all those buttons for her and it all comes crashing down during that whole threesome scene.
Oh gosh, that scene was intense.
It was uncomfortable to read, to be honest. You could feel the power dynamic shifting, the unspoken expectations, the potential for things to go very wrong.
And they kind of do, don't they? It's like Carl's manipulating both Molly and Martina, pitting them against each other. And it just blows up in everyone's faces.
It's a prime example of how, even in seemingly open and consensual dynamics, things can get messy, people can get hurt.
It's a tough lesson to learn. But amidst all of this chaos and heartbreak, there's this glimmer of hope. Molly finally decides to put herself first.
She ends things with Carl, seeks support from Stuart, and dives back into therapy. But this time, it feels different.
It's like she's finally ready to do the work, to figure out what she really wants and needs. And the best part, she doesn't stop there. She starts taking guitar lessons, joins a band, even picks up boxing. It's like she's unleashing this whole other side of herself.
I love that for her. It's so inspiring to see her embrace these new passions, these new ways of expressing herself.
And in the end, while it's not some fairy tale ending, there's a sense of peace, of acceptance.
Right. She finds a deeper understanding with Stuart, a rhythm that works for them, at least for now.
And then there's Scott, the musician. He seems like a breath of fresh air, someone who truly sees and appreciates her for who she is.
It feels like she's finally found that balance between her own needs and the needs of her partner, between connection and independence. It's a journey that's both messy and inspiring.
It really is. Molly's story reminds us that there's no one right way to do relationships, that it's okay to question everything, to stumble and fall, as long as we keep searching for that authentic connection, both with ourselves and with others. It's a reminder to be brave enough to ask for what we need and to never, ever settle for anything less than we deserve.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a powerful message for all of us, no matter where we are in our own journeys. So the next time you find yourself questioning your own relationship model or longing for more in your life, remember Molly's story. It's a testament to the complexities of human connection, the importance of self-discovery, and the transformative power of embracing our own unique path. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going.